I've beat the shit out of this car ever since I've owned it. And it's the funnest thing. So this is my 91 Nissan 240 SX, and as you can tell, it's pretty far from stock, and I didn't really think I'd find myself behind the wheel of a 240 anytime soon. Or well, in this case, a 350Z, because it's got a 350Z steering wheel. But either way, we're here, and I didn't think I'd find myself here, because it was about last year at this time that I was deciding between a 240 and an RX-8, and now here a year later. But as you can see, this car is pretty heavily modified, but it was modified for a specific purpose, and that was specifically to be a drift car. Now, it may not be the prettiest car in the world at the moment, maybe missing a few body pieces, but that didn't stop me from driving 9.5 hours to go pick this thing up. Now, why would you do that, you may ask? Well, I'm glad you asked, because if you have been looking at getting into the sport of drifting or have been shopping around for like a new fun car, you've probably run into a few cars just like this on your Facebook marketplace. And since we actually went and picked up this car, we thought it'd be a great opportunity to talk about whether or not it's a good idea to buy someone else's drift car for your own, and what things you should look for and keep in mind if you're looking to do the same. So there's a little backstory. The search started really about last fall. I just sold the FRS, picked up a solid daily, and had some extra cash left over to go find something and to start drifting this next summer. Something that I've wanted to do for really a long time, but the stars really just never aligned. Never really had the funds for it, never really had the time for it, or one or the other. But the time is right, the funds were there, and it was time to do so. And the search really started there. Now, I'm not gonna lie, originally I was specifically searching for something like a 350Z. Like a black 350Z was like my solid search. That was what I was going for. My limitations were it had to be an actual title with it, had to be under $8,000, and it had to be rust free. Obviously, with today's used car market and the prices were all over the place, it made it pretty damn difficult to find something that matched that specification. If it was in the price range, it didn't have a title. If it had a title, it was rusting away. If it wasn't rusting away, it was completely out of budget. However, I wasn't in a hurry. It was like the beginning of fall, getting into winter. I had all winter. Wisconsin winters last forever, so I had time. As time went on, the search distance kept increasing from outside of local areas to Wisconsin to the Midwest and so on. The search for a 350Z opened up to G35s, IS300s, FCRX7s, and eventually S13s. As the search distance increased, I was open to more than just one platform, and it finally showed up. Pale green or yellow, whatever way the sun's shining on it, 240SX located in Kansas that was in my budget, and it was rust free, and it had a title. And I looked at it for about 15 seconds and continued my search. Yep, I kept looking. I didn't jump on it right away, which was completely unlike me, because usually with that kind of stuff, I'm super impulsive and I just act on it right away, and it just wasn't the case. But I wasn't sold right away. The ad clearly stated that it had been drifted for upwards of 8 years. It had quite a few years under its belt, and the pictures showed its current state, which was covered in stickers, and it had a missing bumper, and the fenders were smashed in, and had custom multi-piece side skirts held together by zip ties, and the interior was completely gutted, and it's low as all hell. I've never even considered in my life buying a car in this kind of condition or how it's been assembled, but there was just something that kept bringing me back to it. Eventually, I had enough. I kept looking at it. It kept coming up in my searches. I ended up reaching out to the owner, and he was more than willing to answer any question that I had about the car, which was the first really good sign. Dan, if you're watching this, thanks for being so awesome, man. Thanks for working with me. Thanks for answering my question. Hope your 86 builds are going well. It's got some crazy cars, like a 2J86. He drifts it. It's pretty crazy. Either way, don't be afraid to ask the questions about the car you're going to look to buy. That can go pretty much across the board, whether it's a drift car, show car, or just a daily driver. Now, of course, don't go asking, how much horsepower does the stock FRS and 350Z make? I'm actually talking about real questions that you should be asking, does it have a title? I know that's should be a common thing to come with, but it's just not anymore. Pictures of the underside. Ask for any known areas of problem areas. For instance, the frame rails for this car are known to rust out. I asked for pictures of the underbody, and he was more than willing to send pictures, and it's absolutely clean. Anything that you might have concerns with, don't be afraid to ask. the seller is willing to answer those questions and send you pictures, it's usually a good first sign. I mean, I even got a video of this thing with a cold start, and it made me feel even more comfortable. And it gives you an idea of who you're talking to by, of course, the way that they're responding. If they're kind of short with their responses and tend to avoid answering your actual question just by throwing random information with the message, usually not a great first sign, as it could be just trying to hide something or an underlying issue. But with this car, really wasn't the case at all. All known issues I was made aware of. It's also really important to know what modifications have been done as well to kind of save you, if something breaks in the future if you buy it, or if you just want to know what kind of parts you're getting into. Of course, if you're already feeling a little uncomfortable at this step, maybe, back off on a little bit, keep it on the back burner. But make sure, of course, you let the seller know that you're gonna think on it for a little bit so they're not just waiting on a response and think that you just ghosted them, because, it makes things a little awkward. The second opinion is also super valuable, especially from someone who knows the platform and is involved with motorsports as well. Luckily, Sam, who works with us, has an S13 of his own. He's been driving for a few years, and he provided some really good insight on what to look for when I was looking for a car. He was really my go-to person when I was looking at getting this car, and he was like the source of truth for like an actual opinion on it. I was like, don't lie to me, give it to me straight, what do you think of this thing? He looked at the car itself, the modifications and the pictures, and gave his true input, which is the fact that it's here in my garage right now. And you can probably tell how that went. It went good, things looked good, it was solid, it had the good parts to it. Having that resource to check with is extremely important when it comes to picking up a car such as this. And if you don't have that friend that has that information, the internet's a massive resource that's free to your disposal. And the rest is like really history for now. I made a down payment on the car, told them to hold it for me while I found a truck with a trailer and took a free weekend to drive down to Kansas and get it. So, question being, should you go and buy someone else's drift car? Well, yeah, absolutely. If that's the route that you want to go, it's really up to you. You could go the other route of this, right? You could go the route of spending a ton of money on a car that's never seen the track, is a really clean example, or it's like completely stock and the 90-year-old grandma's owned it her whole life, which there's really nothing wrong with going that route. However, for me, I knew that this was going to be the car that I'm going to learn to drive in. Probably going to see like a couple cones and things here and there. And if, probably going to drop it into the dirt once or twice. The last thing I wanted was to go get myself a car that was super, super nice or super clean and be too afraid to drive it. That's kind of why I sold the FRS in the first place, to go do this. I just would feel bad destroying that car if, God forbid, that would happen. The car itself is a turnkey, purpose-built drift car that is ready for me to hop into, which is exactly what I wanted. It also isn't overbuilt. It's not making like 500 horsepower, which I think a lot of people think they have to go buy some crazy overbuilt car to start drifting, when that's really not the case. And in most times, you'll actually end up hurting yourselves because maybe the person that put all that horsepower together didn't put it together correctly, and then it just go blow up, and then you're stuck with like a $30,000 500 horsepower drift car that doesn't run. Looks really cool, but doesn't run. So like I said, it is truly up to you when it comes down to which route you want to go. I took the route spending a little less money and doing a lot more research to find a car that was super clean and, was able to do what I needed it to do. I wasn't gonna be afraid to go drive the car. I wasn't gonna be afraid, like I said, to go beat on it a little bit. I wasn't worried about scuffing the paint or maybe getting a little ding in something or cracking the bumper, because it's just not even there and the paint's all anyway. So I mean, this is what it is. The headlights, I have to crank up my hand. That's kind of neat. First car with pop-ups, I gotta do it manually. I was like, so let us know down in the comments whether you would go buy someone else's drift car or not. Like I said, it really just comes down to, are you willing to take the risk? And if you are willing to take the risk, make sure to minimize it as much as possible. Ask the questions, get a second opinion, do the research, see what is good things for these cars or not good things for these cars. And of course, like I said, don't be afraid to pull in a friend if needed. But of course, let us know down in the comments below. And if you're looking for wheels, tires, or suspension for your newly acquired drift car, don't forget to hit up fitmentindustries.com. We got it all, baby. But I'm Gels from Fitment Industries, and yeah, I don't know if we're gonna do much else like video-wise with this thing, but I'm really looking forward to the summer, so we'll see you guys later. Peace.